Thank you, Larry, and thank you to all of our honorary degree recipients for being such exemplars of the excellence and the hopes of this university. Let's recognize them all one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, today we convene with ceremony and joy a rite of passage, celebrating the latest infusion of talent, knowledge, commitment, and energy from NYU into the world. A priceless gift from our university to the future. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2008. Graduates, you and your loved ones live this day as a moment in the unfolding story of your lives. You know a past that has brought you here, a present through which you look to an unknown year and accomplishment ahead, and a future that is full of promise. Those of us who will remain here at NYU live this day in a different way. Even as we share your proud moment in time, even as we gather to say well done and farewell at this commencement, we prepare to greet the incoming class just as we welcomed you a few years ago. On such occasions, we are reminded that you, our students, are a large part of what brings value to our vocation. You and your talent are what inspire us to do what we do. Ultimately, we fulfill ourselves through you. Such is the life of a university. The rich history of NYU now stretches back more than 175 years to the day that Albert Gallatin founded us to be in and of the city. In 1831, New York was a relatively small town. It would be a decade before Alexander Cartwright and others produced the first rules of modern baseball, which was originally known as the New York game. Parenthetically, the best historical evidence is that the very first organized baseball game was played in Greenwich Village, not far from Washington Square Park. With a population of over 200,000, New York had just passed Philadelphia to become the largest city in the country. The United States was still an agrarian society. And the land, in fact, between where we stand and our beloved Washington Square was dedicated to farming. In its first decade, NYU was small. At the first commencement, there were only 3 students. 5 years later, that number had risen to 27. Tuition, brace yourself, tuition was $80 a year. And though NYU was $10 cheaper than Columbia, as usual, we made up the difference by charging $10 for library and incidental fees. The university provided no housing. For those who came from a distance, what was called boarding could be obtained with, quote, respectable private families, close quote, for $3 a week. There was no student newspaper. That's sad. But fraternities and debating societies were an important part of student life. And get this, Students were required to attend daily chapel services each morning at 8 a.m. and to do so in academic gowns. Members of each class followed exactly the same schedule of lectures, recitations, and exams. 20 courses were required for a BA degree. There were no electives and no cuts. But different from day one, NYU's story over the decades has been one of constant redefinition, of continuous aspiration, of persistent integration with the city that has become the center of the world. Gallatin and our founders designed a university to capture the fullness of human experience by aligning itself with our city, a city that vitalized even then the hopes and dreams of immigrants. Gallatin's revolutionary notion, a university in and of a great city, defines and shapes the NYU of today. And the singular city we embrace imbues us with special capacities and a special mission. There are other great world cities, but New York is the world's first glocal city, global and local simultaneously. Consider this. Of the 202 countries at the Athens Olympics, 199 of those countries are represented in the New York City public school system by children born in those countries. 140 languages are spoken in New York as the first language of the people speaking them. 40% of the citizens of this city were born in other countries. No other city in the world represents the cosmos and the human condition, its diversity, its complexity, and its aspirations in the way that New York does. Not surprisingly, the distinct opportunities available here attract the extraordinary collection of talents and interests incarnated in the class of 2008. Numbering 15,000, you range in age from 18 to 69. You hail from 50 states and 165 nations. You have won the most prestigious honors available. Nearly 2,500 of you are Founders Day scholars, graduating with grade point averages of 3.5 or higher. And 130 of you have been elected to Phi Beta Kappa. And you are earning your degrees in fields that span the magnificent spectrum of human inquiry, from molecular oncology to folk art studies, from biomechanics to Jewish history, from ocean science to film and drama, from communication studies to geriatric nursing, from early childhood education to prostho-orthodontists. Sharply focused on your academic endeavors, you've nonetheless involved yourself deeply in volunteer activities. You are active in over 400 student clubs that reflect the diversity and depths of your interests in politics, the arts, religion, debate, athletics, and the list goes on and on. A remarkable 86% of you have worked in internships while going to school. And many of you have worked 2 or even 3 jobs, even as you carry magnificently the burdens of being full-time students. And as if to demonstrate the fullness of your experience here, last evening at the street fair we call Grad Alley, you consumed over 10,000 servings of cotton candy, 6,000 bags of peanuts, 7,000 hot dogs, and this being New York, 4,000 knishes.